covering news where you live. This is 5 News at noon.
Escaped inmate Grant Hardin is now facing a federal charge. This as authorities continue the intensive efforts to track him down. And there's been months of back and forth between the city of Highfill and XNA. Ahead, we'll have the latest on proposals from both sides on how they say sales tax revenue should be handled. Well, thank you for joining us for your 5 News at noon. I'm Morgan Wrigley here with meteorologist Danny Cassidy, and it's an active week with the weather.
Yes.
It seems like last night we did have some storms, but didn't end up being anything too severe.
Right, exactly. That was the good news, is once it kind of got close to the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, it died off, and now all we're left with is just a couple of scattered showers, not even really that much thunderstorm activity. We could see a little bit of that later this afternoon, but not looking too shabby out there. It's been kind of on and off throughout the morning into the early afternoon. You notice now it's been kind of moving north of I-40 there, so most of it is in the northwest Arkansas region there. But again, for the most part, it's going to be pretty scattered in nature. Now, some of them could be on the stronger side later this afternoon east of I-49, maybe some gusty wind. Not expecting too much out of it. Late Thursday night, we could see maybe some stronger thunderstorms, but then Friday, I think especially Friday morning, we could see strong to severe storms with maybe that damaging wind gust threat. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on for sure. We'll talk about that and more coming up in your full forecast. Morgan.
Thanks, Danny. Well, the manhunt for escaped inmate Grant Hardin has now stretched into its second week. Authorities continue the intensive search for Hardin, who slipped away from an Arkansas prison more than a week ago. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer has the latest on the case that's made national news and what law enforcement is doing to track him down.
Tuesday, the Department of Corrections released an updated image of escaped inmate Grant Hardin. An FBI and U.S. Marshals created headshots showing what he might look like after more than a week on the run.
If he has been hiding out, that he hasn't, his facial hair has probably grown out a little bit more. He's probably, not as clean cut as he has been.
And we've now learned that Hardin faces a federal charge, unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. Newly obtained court documents in the state's case against him reveal investigators are looking to cell phone data to aid their search. A search warrant application signed by a judge Monday requests cell tower data within a 5-mile radius of North Central Unit, where Hardin escaped on May 25th. Investigators hope the data, known as a tower dump, can help identify devices that were in the area, potentially pointing to whether Hardin had outside help. The warrant notes it's still unclear if he received assistance, but that possibility has not been ruled out. On Tuesday, the Izard County Sheriff's Office posted to Facebook saying their deputies and investigators are still working around the clock, following leads and coordinating with multiple agencies. They thanked the public for its support and stressed that community vigilance and cooperation remain crucial to the search. There's now a $25,000 reward for information that leads to Hardin's arrest, $20,000 from the FBI and $5,000 from the U.S. Marshals.
You consider somebody of his magnitude and the crimes that put him in prison in the first place. That's obviously a big concern. Why we want to bring this to both a quick and a peaceful conclusion.
Covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
After several days of tracking leads, law enforcement says their focus remains on north central Arkansas. Stone County Sheriff Brandon Long says his deputies are following leads in their county, which neighbors Izard County. Until a credible tip emerges placing Hardin elsewhere, they're concentrating their efforts on the area where he was last seen. And also gaining national attention, a Washington state father is suspected of murder after his 3 daughters were reported missing and then found dead. Police are asking the public for help finding Travis Decker, who's wanted for 3 counts of murder and kidnapping. The victims were identified by a CBS affiliate in Seattle as 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia. Police say their mother reported on Friday that their father did not return them after a planned visit. On Monday, police say they found Decker's unoccupied truck near a campground. During a search, officers found the bodies of the 3 girls.
Our condolences and our heartfelt sympathy goes out to the Decker family. We know they're struggling, but I want them to know they're not struggling alone. We suffer as a community.
Decker is a former military member with the Army and has extensive training. It's unclear, though, whether or not he's armed. And Nathaniel Florer, a Fayetteville man facing child sex crime charges, had his arraignment today. Last fall, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received a tip saying child sexual abuse material was being shared over a mobile app. They connected an online profile with Florer. Court documents say in February, the Washington County Sheriff's Office carried out a search warrant at Florer's home and and found several electronic devices with that material. We'll bring you any updates on this case here at 5 News. Well, the city of Arcoma has been spared a massive sewer rate increase from the city of Fort Smith, at least for now. City directors decided Tuesday to temporarily pause a 350% increase in sewer bills. The increase was supposed to have started last Sunday. After a lengthy discussion last night, the board asked city staff to come back with a different sewer rate plan.
The board last week asked administration to work with the mayor and vice mayor in Arcoma to resolve this issue, to come to some kind of middle grounds. So regardless of the input, the conversation will continue, but at least administration and Arcoma hears what the board has on our minds.
This same board raised water rates to 150% to people outside the city. And we did it without blinking an eye. And we're talking about giving people in another city of 613 people, 613 citizens or residents, another state, have access to our sewer system that we've got a federal consent decree to get a lower rate. I think that's a wrong message to send to our public.
It was decided that the new rate schedule for Arcoma would be voted on by city directors on June 17th. With the latest update on the lawsuit filed against Heifel after the Northwest Arkansas National Airport announced plans to detach from the city. 2 versions of a proposal on how sales tax revenue would be handled from the airport were on the table. And now, after a unanimous vote from the board, both proposals are off the table. 5 News reporter Kayla Davis has the details.
To break it all down for you, last October, XNA decided to detach from the city of Highville under Act 769. That law effectively makes all transactions made at the airport exempt from city sales tax. However, Highville currently has an outstanding bond to pay for water and sewer, and city officials say they heavily depend on the sales tax revenue from the airport to pay it. So on March 17th, the city and XNA came to a verbal agreement that over $1 million would go towards bond repayment. That results in $900,000 to go towards discretionary spending to run the city. The attorney for XNA tells me the city's interpretation of that agreement was $1.5 million to go towards discretionary spending. Because they could not come to an agreement, XNA has filed a lawsuit against the city asking the court to enforce Act 769, requiring all sales tax revenue to go towards bond repayment.
Hopefully, we can get to a point of agreement, but if we can't get to that point of agreement, we are committed to seeing that the city of Highville and its officials follows the law, and we are committed to seeing this thing through for the benefit of our customers and for the restoration of the original vision of this airport.
Burke says this agreement is so important because the larger the amount in discretionary spending, the less that's going towards that bond repayment. And the longer it takes to pay off that bond, the longer you'll have to pay that 2% sales tax on the bagel you buy or the car you rent at the airport. Both groups say they're hoping to extend an olive branch soon. In Highville, covering news where you live, Kayla Davis, 5 News.
Well, in other news, last year, the USNS Harvey Milk military ship was named to honor the civil rights leader and promote inclusivity in the Navy. Now the Trump administration plans to rename the ship to focus on what it calls warrior culture. This move has sparked strong backlash from lawmakers and activists who say it erases progress toward diversity in the military.
It's a clear sign, I think, that the administration is saying that these contributions from these decorated Americans are not valuable. It's really a slap in the face of folks who have fought for so long to have marginalized voices included.
Critics of the name change say the move ignores a core American value, honoring those who fought for a better nation. And President Trump's new 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum took effect overnight, with trade groups sounding the alarm about the potential impact to consumers. It comes as Elon Musk intensifies his criticism of the president's signature tax cut and spending legislation less than a week after leaving his administration post.
From car manufacturing to beverage cans, businesses say they're bracing for the impact of President Trump's doubled tariff on imported steel and aluminum. Trade groups, including the Can Manufacturing Institute, say consumers can expect to pay more.
It will be up for retailers and producers to decide ultimately how they adjust their pricing. But what we are seeing in our supply chain will be an increase in cost to produce metal cans, which will then get passed along in the process of production.
U.S. steelworkers applauded the president's move. The administration argues it's about securing the future of their industry.
He's delivering on his promises to bolster our steel and aluminum industries in this country and to protect those jobs.
The White House is also downplaying escalating criticism from Elon Musk over the GOP mega bill that President Trump calls his one big beautiful bill. On social media, Musk slammed the legislation as pork-filled and a disgusting abomination.
I think he's flat wrong. I think he's way off on this, and I've told him as much.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he spoke to Musk on Monday.
I don't know what happened in 24 hours. Everybody can draw their own conclusions about that, okay?
The bill is now in the hands of the Senate, where Majority Leader John Thune says they will proceed at full speed. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The fate of the bill in the Senate is unclear. Several Republican senators have expressed concerns about the measure, ranging from cuts to Medicaid to the bill's impact on the federal deficit. According to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the bill would cut taxes by $3.7 trillion over the next decade, but would also increase the deficit by more than $2.4 trillion. Republican leaders reject the CBO's estimate, saying the agency's analysis is wrong.